Hello everyone and welcome. This is Christine with Patter Crafts, and today I'll be making 4 cards using the Flavor of the Month card kit by Scrapping for Less. This is for April 2020. The theme is City Streets and Country Roads. This first mini collection here is called Superhost. It has Superhost paper by Scrapping for Less as well as the Superhost stamp set. You'll also find some enamel dots and yellow ribbon. I do not end up using the yellow ribbon, but I do end up using a little bit of everything else. So for this first card, I'm choosing to use sketch number 2. And if you'd like your own copy of the sketches, you can hop on over to the Scrapping for Less website. There is a downloads tab, and you can go ahead and download the sketches for each month. There's also a tab if you would like to download the ingredients sheet. So moving on to this card, I've trimmed out my main panel, which is kind of like a bunch of little buildings in a line. I thought this yellow starburst would be really fun to put my Supergirl. This stamp set also has a Superboy, but I'm only using one for this particular card. So these little strips go on the back of that yellow circle. If I did this same design again, I would make those strips smaller, and you'll see why in just a little bit. Right now I'm just kind of trimming off a little bit of the excess, and now I'm going to work on my image. So I'm going to take some Copic friendly ink, stamp out my Supergirl, and I am using the sentiment "You're amazing" from the stamp set. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that as well. Then I'm going to go off camera, color her in, and die cut my sentiment. So to crisscross these pattern papers behind this starburst, I didn't think about when I put it on the card, those ends of the crisscross were not going to be in the same place. So what I decided to do is I'm going to go ahead and trim them on here. Then I'm going to just take one of the ones off the back and kind of rearrange it so it crisscrossed a little bit better. The other thing I would probably do is back those papers next time, just so that they stand out a little bit behind that busy background. So I'm going to go ahead and add my little circle to the card base and add my little Supergirl. For the sentiment, I'm putting that on with some foam tape, and I do play around a little bit because I wanted to have a little bit of that yellow hang down the bottom, but I would have covered her boots up to do that. So I decided to put it down a little bit lower. I'm using an enamel dot on both sides of the sentiment to kind of fill in that white space. These stars are found in the stamp set. I just went ahead and stamped them out, colored them with a yellow Copic marker, and then fussy cut them. Popping those up on some foam tape, I'm going to bring in the Spectrum Noir glitter brush, add a little sparkle. Then I decided that that wasn't enough sparkle, and I'm going to bring in some Nuvo glitter drops. These are a yellow color. I don't remember the name. I'll put the name of these glitter drops in the description below. But I'm just going to go ahead and coat those over all the stars. And we're going to call that card done. So now moving on to collection number 2 and card number 2. This collection is called it's just called Your Best Life. There is a sentiment in there that says live your best life, but this sentiment is just called Your Best Life. I am choosing sketch number 1 because it's the sketch that makes the most sense for the image in this stamp set. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the pattern papers I want to use. This card sketch is more of a guide. It looks very similar, but there are certain things I don't trim out. In place of the oval, there's also a rectangle under that oval. I kind of just bypass all that. I'm using the image to kind of fill in that space. So she is all stamped out, die cut, and ready to go. And when I say die cut, I mean cut with my scan and cut because I don't think there are dies for this stamp set. But I am grabbing some Copic markers. Some of these color combinations I do remember, and if I remember, I will go ahead and let you know. The scooter colors I do remember. I used B41 as my lightest color. I'm using B45 for my medium color, and I'm using B97 for my darkest color. So I went ahead and used the lightest over the entire image. Then I brought the medium color in where my darker areas are going to be. And then once I'm done that, I'm going to go back with my medium and then back with the light. There's no really right or wrong way to color. I find this is sometimes the easiest way for me to blend the colors. I'm still learning, and I don't really pay attention to light sources. There are some really great card makers out there, or people who just love to color images and make scenes, and they are all amazing at light source and shadows and where they should be. And I used to think about that when I colored images, but that really created a lot of stress and made coloring not fun. So instead of focusing on those types of things, I just decided I'm going to add shadows where I think they should be, and I'm just going to have fun instead of, trying to make this realistic. I mean, we're coloring. I'm not, and it's supposed to be fun. And if it's not fun, then what's the point in doing it? So, for her little outfit, I do believe I used a YG06 G24, and I think it's a YG67. I could be wrong. You might be able to see the tops of those caps. I'm just using some greens for her little outfit, using the C7 marker for her seat and her tires. I use that for like the little exhaust pipe in the back and this little dot above the front wheel. I used E29 and E39 for her boots, and just used E00 for her skin tone. I did go in with a B000 marker between her body and the front of the scooter just so it wasn't so white. There's a lot of kind of empty space there. I don't remember the colors I used for her hair. I apologize. I just kind of was going with it. I didn't even think to show the colors. So now we're going to go ahead and adhere this all together. So I have my main pattern down. I've got this fun little scallop piece. This little pattern paper, when cut, I thought it kind of looked like a road. It does have some sayings on it. So, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of look like a road, like she's driving her little scooter. The sentiment says, never regret a day in your life. And I just use some regular dye ink for that. We're going to pop her up on some foam tape. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the enamel dots that came with this collection right there on the left, just to kind of fill in that space a little bit. I do add a little bit of glitter to her scooter because why not? And then we will call this card done for today. So now we'll move on to collection 3. The name of collection 3 is called Country Roads. So I was looking at sketch number 3 and sketch number 4, and sketch number 3 seemed to make the most sense for this card because of the size of the stamp. So right now I'm just picking out my pattern papers, looking at my card bases. I am picking out a top folding one. If I did this card again, I'd probably do landscape because of the size of the stamp, but it comes out just fine. I'm going to go ahead and trim my pattern paper, And it's kind of funny because this has a rounded corner on the upper right, and I do bring in my corner chomper to do that. And I have had this thing for a really long time, but I haven't used it in the longest time. And recently I've pulled it out more and more. And I actually use it on this card and the next card, which was kind of fun. So I am stamping out the sentiment on the oval piece. This is kind of represented on the card sketch, but instead of kind of making a layer, I'm just using this brown paper and stamping right over the top. So once I have all of these pieces together, I decide it's time to stamp out the image, and I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to handle doing this image right now. So I'm just using some paper. We're going to go ahead and stamp this out. I'm just using some, that's MFT Extreme Black ink. Then I just pull out some Crayola colored pencils because I don't really have a lot of different coloring mediums. I do have some of these laying around for when my nieces and nephews come. But this image was really intimidating to try to color with Copic markers. And the Arteza Real Brush pens, at least the ones I have, the bristles are kind of, they're not uniform and they're kind of hard to color with when you're trying to do something that's tiny like this. So they're great for other things, not just this. So I decided I'm going to break these colored pencils out and see how it goes. I think it came out okay. So I trimmed that down after I colored it and backed it on some of the same brown paper that I stamped the sentiment on. And now we're just going to kind of go ahead and put this card together. It follows the pattern sort of. There's some pattern paper that I see on the sketch that I do not put on the card, and mostly because this image is really big, so I really felt like it was kind of a waste to use more pattern paper behind it because you're not going to see it. Putting the oval above instead of below, and added some enamel dots. Now for card number 4, this is called Howdy Partner. It has a Sunny Studio stamps with this little cowgirl and cowboy. I have already stamped them, colored them, and cut them out. So this card we're just going to be looking to put together. I am just trimming down this pattern paper for my main panel. I thought it was really fun. I was focused on using the little girl cowgirl for this, so I thought that paper would be appropriate. So we're going to trim that down. I used the corner chomper there on the bottom. Now this burlap pattern paper is really cool looking, but man, it made me think I wasn't cutting my paper straight, and it was kind of messing with me a little bit. So just be aware. It does look really cool though, but I think next time I'd use it on like the entire card front and not a piece because I kept thinking that things weren't straight, but they were. It was just the design. So I'm thinking I'm going to use a little tag here, but this blue tag, I thought it'd be fun, but I didn't think that the twine could be on it, but I end up using this canvas type tag instead. And I wanted to see if I could stamp on it. So I'm grabbing my ink and I stamp on it once, and you actually can see it in the video, which is so funny because in real life you can't see it, and usually it's the other way around. So I try to stamp it a few times, but then I just decide to go over it with my Copic marker. And that works really great. Then we're going to add my little cowgirl. I haven't figured out if we're going to use her little friend. I don't really know how I'm going to get that on. Then I grab the twine that I took off the blue tag, and we're going to use it on this tag. And I'm going to put a glob of some multi-medium matte on the back of that just to kind of hold the twine in place. Then we're just going to kind of put this card together. Now in the sketch, Like this burlap piece would be like a fishtail at the bottom. I have a hard time doing that with big pieces of pattern paper like that. So I just rounded the edges, and then I rounded the edges on the pink paper. I used a piece of foam tape to add the tag because of the little eyelet. And then I'm using the multi-medium mat again to add my little girl here. Because that tags like a canvas, I wasn't sure how well this would hold up. So I put a block on it, left it alone for a little bit, and then came back, and it was perfect. Adding a little sparkle, and we are going to call this card done for today. So thank you so very much for joining me. If you're interested in the card kit, I will leave a link in the description below. Come see what all the amazing designers have created with this kit. Join the blog hop. I'll leave a link to that also in the description below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more and you're not already, please hit that subscribe button. But until next time, everyone, have a great day or evening. Bye.